A liberal woman threw a can at Donald Trump during his speech, but by the end, it was she who found herself in the spotlight, and not in the way she'd planned. It all began with an email, a routine invitation that landed in the inbox of Trump's team amid the usual flurry of requests. The subject line was straightforward: keynote address at the Liberty Forum. Donald Trump barely gave it a second glance at first. His days were filled with such offers: rallies, fundraisers, debates, television appearances, most of which his staff sifted through and declined. But this one stood out. The Liberty Forum, held annually in Philadelphia, wasn't just another event. It was a cultural touchstone, a gathering known for its open-floor debates and unpredictable crowds. It drew a diverse mix of attendees: conservative loyalists, progressive activists, curious neutrals, and had a reputation for turning speeches into battlegrounds of ideas, sometimes spilling over into physical confrontations. Trump's advisors saw the potential. "It's a chance to reach a broader audience," one said during a strategy meeting in Mar-a-Lago. "You'll face some heat, but that's where you shine." Trump wasn't fazed by the prospect of a hostile crowd. He relished it. He knew the forum's history, how it had hosted everyone from senators to grassroots firebrands, often ending in shouting matches or viral moments. But he'd faced worse than hecklers. "Book it," he said with a grin, tapping the table. The day arrived, crisp and clear, with a late autumn breeze sweeping through Philadelphia's streets. Trump arrived at the venue, an open-air plaza framed by historic brick buildings and modern skyscrapers, the skyline a testament to the city's layered past and present. The green room was a modest tent pitched off to the side, its canvas walls fluttering faintly in the wind. Inside it was a hive of controlled chaos. Security personnel murmured into earpieces, volunteers darted about with clipboards, and a junior aide handed Trump a bottle of water before vanishing into the fray. He checked his tie in a small mirror propped on a folding table, the faint hum of the crowd filtering through the tense fabric. The speech was set to start in 10 minutes. Nearby, a flat-screen TV looped highlights from past Liberty Forum events: a senator stumbling over a policy question, an activist storming the stage, a protester being hauled off mid-rant. Trump smirked. He'd seen it all before. He'd faced jeering crowds, legal firestorms, and relentless media scrutiny. This was just another arena. A staffer poked his head through the tent flap. "5 minutes, Mr. Trump." He stood, smoothed his navy suit jacket, adjusted the cuffs of his white shirt, and with the swagger of a man who'd weathered impeachment trials, election controversies, and personal scandals, he strode toward the stage. The plaza was packed. Hundreds of people filled the space, some standing shoulder to shoulder, others perched on benches or leaning against lampposts. The crowd was a patchwork of ideologies. Red MAGA hats gleamed in the sunlight, but there were also protest signs, handwritten ones reading "No More Lies" or "Trump Out," and restless faces scanning the stage. Some were die-hard supporters, their cheers already warming up. Others were detractors, arms crossed, waiting for a slip. And a few seemed there just to witness the inevitable drama. The stage itself was simple yet striking: a wooden podium with a microphone, flanked by 2 American flags fluttering in the breeze, and a large LED screen behind it projecting Trump's image in real time. He took his place, scanning the sea of faces as the chatter died down. Applause mingled with boos as he gripped the podium and began. "Good afternoon, Philadelphia," he said, his voice booming through the speakers. "Great city, terrific people. Well, most of them anyway." A ripple of laughter spread through parts of the crowd, punctuated by groans from others. He launched into his speech, hitting familiar notes: jobs returning to America, stronger borders, making America great again. His cadence practiced, his gestures expansive. Among the throng stood Lena Carter, a liberal activist known in Philadelphia's progressive circles for her biting blog posts and tireless organizing. She wasn't a national figure, but her online critiques of Trump's administration, his tax policies, his immigration stance, his rhetoric, had built her a modest but fervent following. She'd spent weeks planning for this moment, her anger simmering as she'd watched Trump's latest campaign trail speeches on TV, each one stoking her resolve. To her, he was more than a politician. He was a symbol of division, excess, and unchecked bravado, a walking affront to the values she championed. Today she saw her chance to cut through the noise. She'd come armed with a soda can tucked into her canvas tote bag, its metallic surface cold against her fingers. Her plan was simple: disrupt the speech, make a bold statement, let the world see her defiance. Her face was set with determination, a mix of righteous fury and steely resolve, as she maneuvered through the crowd, edging closer to the stage's perimeter. She wasn't here for a debate or a quiet protest. She was here to be seen, to force a reaction, oblivious to the counterstrike awaiting her. Trump was about 5 minutes into his speech, the crowd's reactions predictable. Cheers from his base, jeers from his critics when the moment arrived. Carter, now just a few rows from the stage, slipped the can from her bag, her heart pounding. With a quick, practiced motion, she hurled it toward the podium. It sailed through the air, catching the sunlight in a brief, glinting arc, and struck the edge of the podium with a sharp metallic clank, missing Trump's head by mere inches. Gasps and shouts erupted. A few people ducked instinctively, others craned their necks to see. Security surged forward, hands on radios, but Trump waved them off with a casual flick of his wrist, unfazed. He peered over the podium's edge where the can had rolled to a stop, then looked up with a smirk. "Nice aim," he quipped, his voice steady over the mic. "But I prefer Diet Coke. Better taste, folks." The crowd burst into laughter, some clapping, others stunned into silence. Carter froze, her moment of triumph slipping as Trump seized control of the narrative. Security reached her, their hands firm on her arms. But Trump raised a hand again, his tone authoritative yet measured. "Let her stay," he said, peering out at her. "Let's talk." The audience hushed, hundreds of eyes swiveling to Carter. She stood her ground, arms crossed, her defiance palpable despite the tremor in her stance. Trump leaned forward slightly, resting one hand on the podium. "You got something to say it. No need to throw things. I'm right here. Big guy listening." Carter's voice trembled but rang out, amplified by the sudden stillness. "You're a liar and a fraud. You've ruined this country with your hate." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, others booed loudly. Trump didn't flinch. "Okay, strong words. Very strong. I'll give you that. What's your proof?" Carter hesitated, caught off guard by the directness. "Your policies, your wall, your tax cuts, they've hurt people. Real people." Trump nodded almost theatrically, his eyebrows arching. "Specifics? Give me one person, one story. I've got time. Plenty of it, believe me." The air thickened with tension. Carter fumbled, her rehearsed outrage stumbling under scrutiny. "Well, the border, families separated." Trump cut in, his voice steady, cutting through her falter. "That started before me, didn't it? Obama's administration. Check your facts. It's all there. And the wall? We built it to stop drugs, crime. Ask the border agents how many lives it saved. They'll tell you." Carter's face reddened, her hands clenching. "You're twisting it, like always." Trump shrugged, unfazed. "I'm answering. You threw a can. I'm giving you a chance. Fair deal, right? What else you got?" The crowd stirred, some cheering Trump's retort, some muttering in frustration. Carter pressed on, her voice rising. "You're a billionaire who doesn't care about the little guy. Never have." Trump chuckled, a low rumble that carried over the speakers. "I grew up in Queens, worked construction with my dad. Tough days, long hours. You ever swung a hammer, built something from nothing? I have, sweated for it." Laughter rolled through the plaza again. Carter's momentum faltered, her posture shrinking slightly. She tried one last jab, desperation creeping in. "Your election lies caused January 6th. That's on you." Trump's eyes narrowed, but his tone remained even, deliberate. "I told people to be peaceful. Check the tape. It's all recorded, clear as day. You want to talk chaos? Look at the riots in your cities that summer. Billions in damage, lives lost. Where were you then?" The audience split, half roared approval, half groaned in dissent. Carter opened her mouth, but Trump didn't pause this time. "You're mad, I get it. Lots of people are, always have been. But throwing a can doesn't make you right. It makes you loud. If you've got real arguments, bring them. I'm listening. Whole world is." Silence fell. heavy and absolute. Carter had nothing left, her words exhausted, her gesture reduced to a footnote. The crowd's focus shifted. Some clapped for Trump's composure. Others stared at Carter, her protest now a fleeting echo. Security escorted her out as Trump resumed his speech, picking up where he'd left off, unruffled. Anyway, where was I? Jobs, great jobs, best we've ever had. But the real ripple came later. Within minutes, clips of the exchange flooded social media. Phones had been out, recording from every angle. Trump dodges can, schools protester trended on X, racking up millions of views. Comments poured in. She thought she'd own him. Huge mistake. Total disaster. He turned it into a debate and wiped the floor. Classic Trump. That was brutal. She didn't stand a chance. News vans stationed nearby scrambled to get footage out. Pundits on cable networks began dissecting it before the event even ended. The moment ignited broader questions about the nature of protest, the limits of public discourse, the power of staying cool under fire. Was this just another Trump spectacle, a flash in the pan, or a lesson in how to handle disruption with unflinching resolve? Watch as a brash act of defiance flips into a moment of unexpected clarity, where Trump's unflappable response forces a rethink on how we confront power, challenge authority, and navigate the messy intersection of politics and performance.